Hey man, how you doing?
Going well. How are you?
Good, good. So yeah, since last time I saw you back on Wednesday. Oh, actually, could you give me like
Sure.
like 2 minutes, like 1 minute? Hello?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to get my AirPods.
Sure.
Um, so where was I? Yes, so since last time I saw you, I've really been trying to grind out the physics stuff from the chat prep stuff. I feel like I've gotten a little bit more comfortable. I've been trying to go into the what I do is like every time I finish a section, I've been trying to go back to the content diagnostic and sort of redoing those same questions again. And I'm
Yeah.
kind of getting them, so I feel like I'm getting a little bit more comfortable. Um, but yeah, I feel like I'm learning. I feel like I'm getting better. I haven't really been doing any of the section bank. I want to start at least like this weekend. Um, and yeah, I did I did a couple of like Jack Westons. I've done like the lab. I've been on like I've done the last like 5 days. I've done like two each day. Uh, I haven't done like the best. I've been averaging like 62, but I've been going over the same uh the thing that we talked about. I watched the video. Although it kind of takes me like 40 minutes to go through like one. I've That's why I've just stuck to like doing two.
40 minutes to go through.
Like one passage. It takes me like 40 minutes to go through like one passage because I have to like write it out. Or do you think that's too long or
Um, yeah. But
okay, yeah, no, that's fine, but
yeah.
yeah, I just want to ask, like, what do you think on average? Like, even I know we're not saying time, but should I be like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, or what are you thinking?
Um, so why don't you tell me about like, what you're doing now that can take that long?
Okay, yeah, so I mean, I've been doing exactly that, right? So every sentence I take, like, it takes me to like
Oh,
I try to reword it.
it might be good if you write the maps.
Yeah, I wrote the maps. I have a video of it. You want to see it?
You could show me like a map and a passage, and then we can I can kind of see like, you know, what you're writing out, but yeah, but also like kind of like describe to me like what your process is, like, you're reading it, um, and then like go like walk me through what you're doing. Because 40 minutes is definitely a lot longer than it should take. Um, even
Hmm.
when you're like starting out. So yeah, maybe you could show me an example. Maybe I can see, maybe like, evaluate the maps and stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna go through today, but yeah, I mean, like, what do you think the overall like the goal should be? Even though I know you said time isn't an issue, but I should be at least getting around like 30 minutes or something, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it really shouldn't take longer than, let's say, 15-20 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Are you including answering the questions in the 40 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, how long would you say it is not including the questions? Like just
35.
Oh, okay. So the questions are just 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
around there.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, show me some of that stuff.
Yeah, sure. We can do the one that we did yesterday. And I've like kind of just screen recorded my stuff from what I wrote down. Is this 10:31? Yeah.
Um, so let's see, do you want me to like kind of like look at the passage and then like what did you want to like do today? Like did you want to do anything else in particular?
Actually, before I mean, I think there's like one section maybe I should like write down a note of it, or let me see. Yeah, I write down a little note of it. But it was just something about like the biology questions. It wasn't really biology questions, but just something about it.
Where
But I
what
could.
are these questions from?
It's not the questions, but just a little bit of confusion. Because like I took the content diagnostic,
Yeah.
and I ended up getting like for the Jack Weston, like it was a while, like a week ago when you told me to take it. Um, and like I got like an 82%, and it was like I don't know, it was I mean there were like a couple that I kind of like educated guessed or whatever, and I reviewed all of them. But yeah, it's just I don't know, it was just a little confusing because
You
like
have BB questions from the Jack Weston content diagnostic, you're saying?
yes.
Okay.
So it was just, I don't know, it was just confusing if I should be like, do you think, I mean, I reviewed those questions or should I like try to go deeper into it or
If
should I
it's
just
still
stick with it?
Yeah, if it's still confusing, so like the workflow is going to be like, for the content diagnostic, like, okay, I got this wrong, or, I guessed. Um, Let me read the solution. All right, if the solution makes sense, I'm good. Move on to the next question. The solution doesn't make sense, then you could use other resources like the videos, books, etc. And if it makes sense, then you move on. But if it still doesn't make sense after you use other resources, then that's what you bring to me, and then we go over it. So, so
Okay.
basically, we can go over some of those BB questions. And for this, let's see what I'm gonna
Okay.
do. I'm gonna read it myself out loud, and I'm gonna start to write a map.
Okay. But I mean, but before I just want to know though, like I actually, I think it's best today at least that we still continue to focus a lot more on cars just
Oh, okay.
because it's like six, I feel like I don't know if I've done 10 passages in total, but still I'm averaging like 60% on thinking all this time. So there's something that I'm like, I think it's best that we try to understand.
Okay, awesome then. So,
You think that's a good plan for today?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. All
So,
right.
okay, but yeah, I'm gonna read this and write out a map, and we can compare it to yours. And I'm gonna try to be quick for that, and then we can do
Okay.
new one. Sorry, someone that might do one sec. Okay. Um, what were we saying? Um,
That you're gonna read it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then after we can do like a new one together or something. So let me see. Okay. The sadness of John Williams's Stoner, um, is of its own particular kind. Um, its story of a farmer. Um, Here, oops. There's no way for you to open this without the uh
You want me to maximize it? I can do that.
um well, I was gonna ask about like removing the typo the highlights, but it's fine.
Yeah, I can do that. There you go.
All right. So let's see, where's my okay. All right. Sadness of John Williams's Stoner is of its own particular kind. So Um, honestly, let's just straight up let's just do it like we usually do. So, um,
Okay. Sure.
tell me what you are thinking of when you see that first sentence.
Sentence. Yeah, I think the sentence is just talking about it's introducing this book or story or whatever the case is, and apparently its portrayal of sadness is pretty unique in a sense.
Yeah, good. So losing my annotate. Okay. So sadness of this guy's book Stoner is of its own kind. So I'm highlighting own because I don't want to highlight own particular kind, but in my head, I'm thinking it's unique. That
Mm.
so, and that's pretty much
Oh,
what you said. Yeah.
okay. I think I forgot to ask you that the last session. Like highlighting, like yeah, like how do you like what is your recommendation on highlighting actually?
So it's so highlighting is difficult to teach, but that's why whenever we do passages, I have you, screenshot the highlights because if you see what I write in the map, it's essentially what I highlight. So the highlighting kind of serves as like a pseudo map. Um, and and I only highlight mostly like nouns and stuff because I just fill in the grammatical stuff in my head. So, but yeah, every session that we do, like, you'll see the stuff that I highlight and and then you'll see the stuff that's in the map and you can compare those two.
Mm, okay,
So,
that's some good insight. Thanks.
yep, yep, yep. So, all right, good. Okay, yeah, so first sentence, new idea, saying that sadness in this guy's book is a unique kind, like it hasn't been done before. Okay, continue.
Do you want me to read it? Okay. It's story of a farmer who becomes an academic and dies depressed after living through the triumphs and tragedies common to all men, is not like the operatic sadness of the good soldier or the grindingly sociological sadness of New Grub Street.
All right.
Um, so I think here is just describing us what the story is about, trying to give us an understanding. It's about this apparently a farmer and who becomes an academic and dies depressed. And,
Is that part
and
particularly important?
um,
Because so I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you before, but each sentence can be one of two things. It could be new idea or same idea. Now, if it's a new idea, it's a new idea. But if it's the same idea, there has to be something associated with that. So, like, most of the time, it'll be same idea, elab, like elaboration. But it could also be same idea, example, um, etc. So,
um,
yeah,
so like I mean, I guess from what you just said, it seems like it's kind of the same idea. It's just kind of giving us a more in depth.
yeah. So now the same idea, meaning that it's unique, right? So, do we necessarily care about whether the person is a farmer and, you know, academic and stuff? Maybe they say else after that that could be more related to the argument in the first sentence.
I didn't catch it. I didn't really get what you meant by the last part.
Oh, sorry. Um, so in this second sentence, we talk about the farmer and stuff like that. And then what do we talk about?
It's kind of comparing to other stories that that display sadness.
So when you say compare, like, tell me like more specifically.
That it's I think it kind of emphasizes its uniqueness.
All right, tell me more.
uh, emphasize its uniqueness by like comparing that it's not the same type of sadness, I
Yes,
guess.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
So we start off with with the argument saying that his version of sadness is unique. And then we talk about a farmer, but that's not that important because what's important is what is related to that argument. And so we say that it's the way that he just writes about sadness is not like the operatic sadness of the good soldier, and it's also not like this sociological sadness of this other book. So you see how first we're saying new argument that it's Stoner's sadness is unique, and then we have same argument, but now we have elaboration by saying that it's not like this specific type of sadness in a book, and it's not like this other specific type of sadness. So you see how uh, the farmer stuff is not really related to the actual argument, but it's just but what's related to the argument is saying that, okay, we know it's unique. How is it unique? Well, it's not like this and it's not like that.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
So essentially, yeah, so essentially you're saying that it's like they could present a new idea and then the second sentence is like more of like a elaboration explaining how it's not exactly unique.
Yeah, so usually you'll see that. But now,
Okay.
this sentence involves things that are good elab and things that are not that good elab. Like the fact that it's a farmer and stuff. I mean, I don't know, they might talk about it later, but from what I see, like that's why I wouldn't highlight that because I'm looking for the same idea and
Okay.
work for that. So good, 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 good. All right.
It feels like a purer, less literary kind, closer to life's true sadness.
Okay.
So again, I think it's as you said, it seems like to elaborate even more about like what the sadness really is, at least according to the author. It seems that it really can't think of the word. I guess showcases what actual like what a sadness like humans, I guess, experience, and not just something that's strictly in the realm of literature, I guess.
Yep. So now you see we have sentence one, this guy's sadness is unique. Sentence two, his version of sadness is not like these other two versions of sadness, but we still don't know what type of sadness it is. We know it's just not the like the two examples that they give. And then in in sentence three, then they tell us what his version of sadness is. So it's like he has a unique version of sadness. It's not like these other two guys' versions of sadness, but what is it? It's a realistic, less literary, more, pure, I guess, type of sadness. So we know it's unique, we know what it's not like, and now we know what it is. And they all
Okay.
uh serve as elaboration for that argument.
Okay.
Yep.
As a reader, you can see it coming in the way you can often see life sadness coming, knowing there is little you can do about it. Again, seems like more explaining what the real life sadness is like,
Yep. And
and he kind of elaborates how like you just can't do anything about it. Just comes at you. Except,
yep.
because that's a contrast word. Since you are a reader, you can at least defer it. I think in the sentence, it's just trying to say that since you're the reader, you're not really the one. You can kind of disengage from it because you're not the one actually experiencing it. I found that when reading Stoner for the first time, I would limit myself most days to 30 or 40 pages, preferring to put off until the morrow knowledge of what the eponymous hero Stoner might have to bear. So it seems here the author is saying how he's really taking his time reading the book and taking in the knowledge and not just reading it for the sake of reading it, I guess.
Yep. And
Or
then we
he's kind
also
of taking
have
information.
and so we also have that unique the rare thing where the author explicitly states like I blah blah blah. That's usually a rare thing. Um uh, because it's like the author's opinion. So the author is actually saying that when he read the book, he limited himself, I guess, and then um, preferring to put off until the morrow knowledge of what the this guy would have to do, like have to deal with next. So I think that could be related to like perhaps like deferring it, because like what's defer?
Um, Avoiding it, I guess, right? Or
Yeah,
not letting it hit you, or I don't know.
when you what is it? When you apply to colleges and stuff and
Right.
defer it, it's like you're going like, all right, let's stop for now and I'll maybe get back to you later. Kind of, yeah, so you said delayed, right?
I said avoiding it, but
Oh yeah.
delayed.
I would say more so delaying it. It's like you're avoiding it, but avoiding is just like if you don't want to be around or something. But deferring it is like for now you're avoiding it and you're saying that you're just going to do it at a later time. So
Okay.
so and that's what we
So
see.
you think,
Yep.
so you think in the last sentence, it's not more so him taking in the knowledge, but it's just him deferring it, you're saying?
Yep. Because he limits himself, to a couple of pages and then he waits until the next day, right?
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So let me create some space here. All right. What can we say for this paragraph?
Uh, Donor displays a unique sense of sadness, which almost resembles real life, or which resembles real life.
See. So I put stoner sadness unique, unlike operatic, the good soldier, socio, the grub thing, in that it's truer to real life, less literary, and readers can defer it like AO author's opinion. Author himself is also deferring it.
Mm, okay. I see how you're saying how like everything that you wrote in that it's because earlier you said it really resembles all your highlights, so
Yeah,
I
so like,
can
I call it like caveman.
clearly see that.
I call it caveman speech. Like if you just read what I highlighted, it's sadness, stoner, own. So in my head, that means it's its own type. And then not operatic sadness, good soldier, grindingly sociological sadness, Grub Street. That's what it's not. And what it is pure, less literary, more real. Um, and reader, if you're a reader, you could defer it. And the author himself says that he defers it. So, but yeah, good. You could see like the highlight kind of thing. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, next paragraph. The title, suggested by his American publishers, remains unexciting, though better probably than Williams' first attempts, A Flaw of Light and The Matter of Love. So here, I guess the publishers don't really see the excitement in the title, it seems, of John Williams. Still, a book makes its title rather than the other way around. Uh,
So let's think about this first sentence, about the title. New idea, same idea.
Seems like a new idea. Title seems like that doesn't really relate to the uniqueness because that was the first idea, right?
Good. So the title, which his publishers suggested um, is unexciting. And you have some parenthetical saying, maybe it's more exciting than these other books that he wrote. Um, I don't know if that's important at this moment, though. And then still a book makes its title rather than the other way around. What's that saying?
Book makes this title. Author seems to kind of disagree with these publishers, kind of saying how, yeah, it's not the title that like it's the content of the book is what is should be more important or really defines the title. Like, yeah, I don't know, are there any other way to kind of reword that?
So, but I mean, are the publishers saying the opposite?
I would say so because it says suggested by his American publishers. Didn't
So
I say that?
if you suggest something that happens to be unexciting, right? Does it mean that you believe that a title makes a book?
Could you repeat that again? Sure. Give it
So
again.
so you're saying um that the author, I think you said something like the author disagrees with the publishers in that he says that a book makes its title.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so while it might be true that a book makes its title, I that isn't really disagreeing with the publishers because the publishers aren't saying that, the book doesn't make its title or that the title makes its book, right? They just suggested a title that happens to be unexciting, but it doesn't mean that they think that a title makes the book, right?
It's just a opinion, I guess. It doesn't really.
Yep. So
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, we're saying so he's saying yeah, the book is more important than the title. Um, but that isn't in disagreement with anyone really. Not yet, at least.
I
Right.
see what you're saying. Okay. And what the book has turned into is more than one more forgotten work, gratifyingly exhumed. What the book has turned into is more than one forgotten work. Yeah, and it seems like I think what that sentence means is that earlier we learned that the publishers are saying that the title is unexciting. So this seems to have possibly played a role in the
Say what
book being. I think that and what the book has turned into is more than one more forgotten work. That sentence, um, I think that it's going back to the first sentence, adding on how like because the American publishers said the title wasn't exciting, this book became kind of just forgotten. Like nobody really like is whatever.
um so the publishers okay. All right, okay. Um all right. Uh yeah, you can continue.
Despite its title, Stoner has become massively popular. Um, so I guess despite the factors that we learned earlier with the title, I mean, yeah, just Stoner somehow seems to still be something that people really like.
Okay. What can we say here?
Author believes, uh, author believes that the book, author believes book is more important than the title,
Okay. Anything else though?
despite publisher's view, book is somehow now popular.
When you say publisher's view, though, what are you saying about like that?
I mean, maybe I should just put what they say despite publishers' suggestions.
Because the thing about the publishers, I think, is that we don't know what their view is. We don't know anything about that. We know that they happen to suggest titles that happen to be unexciting to the author of whoever's writing this, but it's not like the publishers were like, "Hey, let's give this guy a really crappy book title." Because I mean, so like that's just something that I want to like make sure that we are on the same page with. Um, like it's by mere coincidence that the publishers chose something that happens to be unexciting, but I don't think they're doing it for any particular reason. And if there is a reason, we don't know what reason there is. We don't know anything about the publishers basically at this point. All we know is that
Okay.
they chose the title. Right.
Okay.
Even
Um,
you can say perhaps they made it even more exciting because the first attempts, in the parentheses, uh, is saying that it is worse, it's less exciting. And we don't know if the publishers chose those names, but we know that for a fact that the one that they chose this time is unexciting, but better than the previous books he wrote, right?
yeah.
So yeah. So okay. So what I would put is title unexciting in parentheses pubs to just mean that they chose it. But the book makes its title and is still super popular.
Okay. When a novel by, say, Henry Green or Patrick Hamilton is rediscovered, the graph of sales usually forms a brief, respectable hump before returning again to its horizontal.
Oh,
So I think this sentence,
yeah.
sorry, did you say something?
Uh, I'll say after. So what were we saying?
Yes. No, I was just kind of just going over possibly what the sentence means. I think the sentence is just trying to describe that when one some work that has been discovered again, I guess the sales tend to go up, but then it kind of just stagnates after a little bit.
Yeah. And this sometimes will happen in cars because like we don't know, like in the earlier paragraphs, we don't know where they're heading. But now after reading this, I now see that there's something in paragraph two that I should put in the map. And it's the fact that this book, what does it mean to be exhumed?
To be like dead, done for, right?
Anything else?
Destroyed,
So so it is related to death, but it's when you like let's say there's a
disregard. I guess that
um,
works.
so like let's say there's someone's grave and you dig it up and you bring the body out. That's exhumed. So why am I saying that now? Because it's become massively popular. So it wasn't initially popular, but now it's become massively popular. Like it came out of its grave.
Mm.
And why do you think I'm paying attention to that now?
Because in the first sentence we say that it's when a novel by say it's like seems like it's kind of adding on to that sentence in a weird way
Yeah,
because of the fact that it's like rediscovered.
exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so this will happen. So like I'm gonna now that I see that it's mentioned in in the next paragraph, I'm gonna that means it's important because we talked about how a main idea is more in one paragraph, right? So I'm gonna say,
Yes.
let's see. So I wrote is still super popular. I'm gonna just write became popular from, let's just say, nothing. And there, that's better. All right. So yeah, because like yeah, initially when I was reading that, I was like, if it's unexciting, why is it popular, right? And that's because it's unexciting and people didn't really read it, but then suddenly people started to rediscover and read it. Makes sense, right? Why I did
Mm,
that. So okay, so now in the
yeah.
next paragraph, you said yeah, when a novel is rediscovered, it produces that hump and then it goes back to the horizontal, right?
Yeah, stagnates.
So rediscovered, like whatever, sales, hump, back to the horizontal. Maybe I can put Henry Green or Patrick Hamilton in orange, but but I don't think it's like really it's not giving us any like more concrete stuff, so I think I'm gonna leave it.
Okay. Stoner first went into Vintage in 2003 after Mick Cahan had recommended to the publisher Robin Robertson. Uh, some background information, I guess, about how it got published. In the decade up to 2012, it sold 4,863 copies, and by the end of the last year, was trundling along in print on demand. This year, up to the end of November, it had sold 164,000 copies, with the vast majority, 144,000 of them, coming since June.
Good. So all
Here, I guess it. Oh, sorry.
on.
Yeah, I guess from my understanding, it seems author is describing the sales and con because in the beginning he kind of says how those other works that were rediscovered kind of just horrors like stagnates, but here we kind of see how somehow they're just skyrocketing.
Yeah, yeah. Um so now I would use orange because we have some real data. Like, so 2003 went into vintage um after this guy recommended it to this publisher, and then up to 2020 12 that many, and then the year this many, blah blah blah. So um so I guess we may not necessarily see it returning to the horizontal, but we do see that this guy's book uh has been rediscovered, right?
Mhm.
So what can we put here?
Compared to other rediscovered books, Stoner's book has been on a straight has exponentially been growing in sales.
Oh
But
wait,
the
say that again, sorry.
yeah, so I said compared to other rediscovered works, Stoner's work seems to have no, sorry, compared to other rediscovered works that stagnate after some time. I feel like I'm saying too many words.
Don't worry about
Uh,
that's another thing. A lot of people think that so writing a map, a lot of times people think like, okay, that's too much, too many words. How can I make it shorter? But what's the only important thing, finite thing on the test is time, right?
yes.
So if you write a lot, like so far I've been writing a decent amount, but it's only taking like 2, 3 seconds, right? So if you have to think about how to make it shorter, you're using up more time, right? So
Okay.
so
Good one.
that's good though, because then you can just kind of write what you want to write without having to think about, is this, how can I adjust this or whatever. Um, but okay. So you said that this guy's book, unlike the other ones that are just like a bump and then back to the horizontal, like it keeps going up.
Yeah,
Okay.
essentially.
So I put when rediscovered, brief hump, then horizontal. Stoner gets more and more popular with time, and then we have the 2003, 2012, those support evidence examples.
Okay. There is a further oddity about the revival of stoner. It seems to be a purely European phenomenon so far, not American. I think this seems like to be a new idea, I guess,
Yeah,
because
and
I haven't really
you see
seen
how it
anything.
says further oddity?
Yeah,
That means what came before was also an oddity, right?
mm, good point.
And like, yeah, like you caught that because you did say, unlike those other, the usual books that get rediscovered, stoners, it keeps going up, right? So that can be called an oddity. Um, and now we're talking about a new oddity. So, yep, a new idea here. So, a new oddity. And then we see
Mhm.
revival of stoner. So now it really drills home the fact that this is a rediscovered work and stuff. So,
Okay.
oh,
So
and
yeah, see,
yeah,
the
sorry.
European and it seems like it's a European and Israeli phenomenon, not American. Uh, yeah, what were you gonna say? Sorry, I just cut you off there. My bad.
No, no, no. Yeah, I don't even know what I was gonna say, but uh, yeah, okay. So, um, okay, there's another oddity, and it's that it's mostly European and Israeli, not American. So I take that to mean perhaps it can either be like perhaps either more sales in Europe and Israel or more positive reviews in Europe and Israel. It can mean, you know, those are the things that it can possibly mean in my head. Um, but yeah, continue.
Bret Easton Ellis has tweeted its praise, and Tom Hanks has applauded it. But these have been the rare American voices in its favor.
All right, so
You
that
want to,
sorry. So that answers kind of like the question that I was asking, right? Meaning, so if they're saying it's purely European and Israeli and not American, I was thinking, okay, that could mean either it sold more in Europe and Israel, or it just has more positive reviews in Europe and Israel, right?
mm,
So, but now we're saying that Bret Easton Ellis and Tom Hanks have praised it, but these are the rare American voices in its favor. So that means that the European and Israeli thing is more so less so sales, but more well, we don't know about sales yet, but more it's at least the we at least know that they probably like it and give it positive reviews, right?
okay. So you're essentially saying again, like we here, we're learning that
Uh-huh.
it's not really just strictly focusing on the sales. It's focusing on the fact, again, they possibly like it.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
So
Okay.
like when I read this first sentence, I'm seeing okay, it's something unique about it is that there's more something in Europe and Israel than in America. And my thoughts are sales or good reviews. And then the second sentence is saying mostly good reviews. So they could still say something about sales, but I know for a fact at least that it's get the good review part. That
Okay. When I asked around among my American literary friends, some had simply never heard of the novel, Nora Williams, and others were lukewarm in their response.
so um so I'm gonna also do this and that, but then these are the rare ones. Do you know who Bret Easton Ellis is? You know,
No, I was like, hold on.
you
No,
know,
I don't know.
American Psycho.
I've heard of it. I have not watched the movie.
Yeah. So, it's based on a book that was written by this guy,
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Interesting.
and so okay, so
Hmm.
let's see. Oh, yeah, when I asked around my American literary friends, so we have I again, and that indicates author's opinion. And again, that's rare. So it's very nice to see something like that. So this guy, the author himself, is like, okay, I asked my American friends, they never heard of it, or the author, and the ones that perhaps did were like lukewarm in it. Uh, so that could be like perhaps like author's opinion about how Americans basically don't know about it. So, what can we put for this paragraph?
I'm thinking author explains further how this is purely not. This author explains further how this seems to be a book that Europeans like a lot more than, not a lot more, but it seems to be very liked by Europeans.
So,
Americans,
uh,
Americans, there's not much spark of interest or knowledge about the book's existence in by Americans.
so we don't really yet know for if there's more um of this in Europe and Israel. So we just want to write what we can take away. So we know that it seems to be more so something in Europe or Israel and less so in America. And then we have an example of the only like two people who like the minority of Americans who like it and know it. But most Americans don't really know it or like it or any of that stuff. And for that, we have an author's opinion. So you see how how it would be saying too much to say that Europeans like it more, but the
Okay.
what the evidence and the writing is showing us is that at the very least, we can say that most Americans don't really know or care about it.
So would it be better to say sales seem to be higher in Europe by Europeans?
We don't know anything about sales though, right?
So what word would we use then to
So
describe like it's
yeah. So remember initially when I was like, okay, that could mean either sales or that they like it better. And
yes.
and yes, we did ultimately see that there could be that we can infer that they could have liked it better. Um, and for the more sales part, we just don't know. Um, but I think it's more safe to say that fewer Americans know of it slash like it. It's safer to say that than saying European and Israelis like it more. Just
So you
because,
have more
yeah.
like the author's opinion here and other things there, like about the rare American voices.
Oh yeah, yeah. So for instance, I put um mostly like an arrow to the above to refer to that, but yeah, it's mostly something that is in Europe and Israel. I put that in parentheses IS, not AM meaning America. And then BE, Brett Easton Ellis and Tom Hanks are the like pretty much the only Americans who like it slash know of it. Most Americans really don't either know about it or like it. So, it's by an inference that we can say that more people in Europe like it, but so far
Mm.
like we're not going to write our inferences down. That's something we can do when we answer questions. But so far, we just want to stick to whatever they're giving us.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, this disparity needs some explanation, and I'm not sure I can supply it.
All right.
So the author seems trying to understand why possibly this seems to be the case. It perhaps, no, sorry, perhaps Europeans are more open to the quietness of the novel than Americans.
All right. So now we're getting some more explicit stuff here. So so okay, first we said disparity, and that's the disparity between America and Europe or Israel, right? In terms of this,
Yes,
and we're saying that, you know, it needs an explanation, but the author is not really sure that he can provide an explanation. So we're going to get some elaboration here that could just be speculation, right? So like perhaps Europeans are more open to how quiet the novel is compared to Americans. That could be one of the reasons. Um, yep, you can continue.
perhaps American readers don't like its lack of optimism. Another reason it seems. There's no shortage of pessimism in American literature, but the national character is one of striving, of altering circumstances rather than accepting them. So we see here another. Okay, I'm just gonna. Yes, okay. So all of these sentences seems to be just understanding why, or perhaps they are merely lagging behind us and will soon catch up. Until then, Stoner remains the great American novel that Americans don't understand. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so here the author is trying to come up with some possible explanations on why this seems to be possible. Because I'm trying to explain the disparity. There we go. This is what I was looking for. He's author's trying to explain the disparity. Things maybe it could be due to again the quietness of the novel, maybe the lack of optimism, or maybe because of the fact that it doesn't have the uh, antagonist persevering through hardships.
You said
Um,
antagonist persevering throughout trip?
and the protagonist, I guess the main character. I mean to say the main character. My bad. Sorry. um, yeah. So, or perhaps they are merely lagging behind us and will soon catch up. And until then, Stoner remains a great American novel that Americans don't understand. Yeah, and then in the last sentence, he also tells another reason. But overall, he
Mhm. Yep.
I'm
So,
just trying to understand the last sentence, but
mm,
trying to understand that last sentence.
mhm.
That remains the great American novel that Americans don't understand. Uh, I mean, I think this seems like to be a author's opinion here.
So,
Remains the great American novel that they don't understand. So it's like,
so
I don't
author,
know how to put that into.
yeah. So author's opinion when we use it, like when I write AO, is when we have the author explicitly stating like I, something like that.
So you wouldn't say something like great American novel? That sounds kind of like,
I mean,
right?
I'm saying like, so yeah, sure. That's something that the author clearly believes, but just in terms of like technical stuff, like when I use AO, like in paragraph, you can see on the map I wrote paragraph 1 AO, paragraph 4 AO.
Okay.
That's when you so that corresponds to the I, capital I that I highlighted in light blue. So like when I say author's opinion, I'm saying like technically what we use when we write author's AO is when the author explicitly states something like that they believe. So
Okay.
yeah. But
Sounds good.
yeah, it doesn't mean that, this isn't the author's, opinion, but it's just a technicality thing. But okay, so here, we have new idea, right? New
Hmm.
idea being that, so we already know there's a disparity, but new idea is,
Why?
yeah,
Why?
right? And the author's like, I don't think I can supply it. And then he kind of speculates and he's like, maybe Europeans are more open to how quiet it is. Maybe Europeans are more open to the lack of optimism, right? And in America, like, sure, there's pessimistic literature, but the overall character is one that strives. Instead of accepting bad things, it's like you work to create your destiny, right? So that could be another reason. But ultimately, he doesn't have really a reason. Ultimately, the conclusion is that because until then, meaning until we can figure out an explanation, right?
Okay, okay.
That this book is just a great example of an American novel that Americans themselves don't understand.
Appreciate? Or not, you wouldn't say appreciate, all right?
Uh, I would say that they don't understand it, right?
Okay.
Because if they didn't appreciate it, then that would be like, okay, they understand it, but they just don't really care much
Mm,
about it. Um, but we're trying to figure out why Americans don't, you know, um, know about it as much or care about it as much. And if if you don't appreciate it, you still likely understand it, right? But we're concluding that Americans don't understand it. If you don't understand something, you can't really appreciate or not appreciate it because you don't know it, right? So,
okay.
if they, yeah, if they understood it and, and then they didn't like it or whatever, that then you can say that they're not appreciating it. So, it's okay. So for this paragraph, what can we say?
Author is trying to understand the possibilities of the disparity,
Okay.
uh, possibly through the quietness, the lack of optimism, or a lack of character that is trying to strive. However, he concludes that Americans don't understand. Don't he concludes that Americans don't really understand the book itself.
So, yep. So I put an arrow to the above to reference it to say why. Maybe Euro's like quietness and lack of optimism, which goes against the American character. But ultimately,
Mm,
this is an American novel that Americans don't understand.
okay.
Mhm.
When I put these points to the American novelist Sylvia Brown Rigg, she responded, "The book's reticence seems very not American to me. In spite of the American setting, the character himself feels more English or European, opaque, fundamentally decent, and passive." Uh, s- yeah, so far we are introduced to Brown Rigg, yeah, and it seems like she's kind of understanding why she's trying to reason with why the book isn't as American, and she explains how it's because of aspects of the character, perhaps. Perhaps the lack of the novel, perhaps the lack of the novels taking hold in the US is because it doesn't feel like one of ours. Okay, it's kind of important. We're such a country of maximalist, noisy ones, and though obviously there are exceptions, even our minimalists are not spare and sad in this particular way. Uh, okay, but stoner is one of theirs, even if they cannot comprehend it.
So that's when we have our contrast word and one of theirs, even if they can't comprehend it. So, okay. So for this paragraph, what can we put?
Browning, who is an American, reasons that possibly why it's why the book might be not as popular in America is because of the fact that it's in a sense not relatable. It's not something that Americans can like yeah relate to, right? Because we learn about in the second to last sentence, or yeah, right before the last sentence, how there's like the subgroup that they don't feel the same level of sadness, right?
Mhm.
She also says it doesn't feel like one of ours,
Mhm.
right? However, the author seems to say that
Mhm. Do we have maybe any like so when so okay, the character feels more English or European. Um, what characteristics make that person feel like English or European?
the opaque, fundamentally distant and passive, according to her.
Uh-huh. Yep. And then elsewhere, even though I didn't highlight it, we did say us as Americans are maximalists, noisy, right? And there's, exceptions, but even our minimalists aren't sad like to this extent, right? So I put arrow to the above, brown rig says does not feel very American, feels like Euro in parentheses passive, but it is American even if Americans can't understand it.
Mm,
Okay.
okay. Another thought crossed my mind that there's little drinking in Stoner. I wonder if American characters who are self-contained and stoical, I'm thinking of Raymond Carver or Richard Yates, more often have to be alcoholics and rein themselves in and accept their disappointments. So here we see possibly another trying to explain more onto that disparity earlier in and saying how it's possibly could be due to things like little drinking, like the fact that there's not much drinking in the book, which seems to be a American, I want to say value, but something that Americans do.
Yeah, so we said, okay, there's little drinking in Stoner, and then he's wondering American characters who have the characteristics of being self-contained and stoic, and then we have two examples of those people. Those types of people who are self-contained and stoic, like they kind of like keep themselves in, and that they need uh to, I guess, drink in order to like rein themselves in order for them to kind of I guess confront their emotions. So we could say self-contained, stoic, have to be alcoholics to rein themselves in, to accept their disappointments, right? So, I mean, what I'm thinking of here is that so we know this book is about sadness and pessimism. Um, and I think in this last paragraph, they're saying that the typical American, right? Uh, like, do you know what is meant by like stoic?
Uh, for some reason, I don't know why, but I can't describe it when you're just,
Uh-huh.
I think about just being like, I think I can describe someone who's stoic, but I don't know the definition, I guess. Someone who's stoic is very grounded, present in the world. That's what I kind of think about. But yeah,
Is someone who's stoic, very, very emotional, at least on the outside.
no.
So it seems like Americans who are stoic like that, they have to drink to let the emotions out, right? To accept the disappointments. And that could be, another factor here. So paragraph 7, we can write, Whoops. Um,
Americans seem to be Americans seem to hold on to their emotions, which makes them want to drink more, which isn't really what Stoner has in it.
sorry, say that again.
Yeah, so I was just saying American characters seem to be portrayed as less emotional
Hmm?
and seem to
Yep.
rely on drinking, which isn't something that Stoner is
Yeah,
based on or has.
because we know that the book's about is pessimistic, and Americans can't admit being pessimistic. So, but if alcohol is involved, then they can accept those bad emotions. So, little drinking and stoic, American stoic need alcohol to accept bad emotions. And I mean that's also maybe I'll put like a little carrot to say that that's related to all the stuff we've been saying. So this is another reason why it could be not very well received in America compared to Europe, right? Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
now if we look at everything we wrote so far, so we started off by saying Stoner's sadness in his book is unique and it's closer to real life. And paragraph two, the title um, wasn't very exciting and it became popular. Um, paragraph one and two seem like they no longer really matter in the passage. Paragraph three, though, we start about with
Mm.
we discovered, usually it's a bump, but unique. Stoner is also unique in that he gets more and more popular with time. And then paragraph four is when we introduce how it's predominantly Europeans that are really into this novel, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna circle that. And then paragraph five, why? Why is it, more well received in Europe? Could be because they like the quietness and the lack of optimism. And ultimately, it's an American novel that Americans don't understand. And then paragraph six, again, repeating that, saying it doesn't feel American. Um, but it is American, even if they don't understand it. So we have that twice. And then paragraph seven, this could be another reason why Americans, don't relate to it or don't, like it as much as like Europeans do. So, so what I circled are just the repeated arguments. So, and now when we have our main idea, it'll be like what we circled essentially. So, what can we write?
Yeah, for the main idea, I think we can write that author is trying to understand the cause of the disparity of the book's popularity between Europeans and Americans.
So, um, so yeah, you want your stuff to be more uh decisive in choosing a stance. You don't want like a objective summary. You want to write like the straight up arguments, right? So if you just word that a little bit differently.
The author is trying to understand the disparity of its popularity between
So
Europeans and Americans.
so so like for that, right? You want to make it more specific. Like so here's an example. So if you're saying that the author wants to know why it's more popular, in Europe compared to America, well, we have written several possibilities of why that could be the case, right? So, so sure, it's something that he's trying to figure out, but he's already figured it out for the most part, right? So, so you want to be more you know, taking a definitive stance, and be like specific. So yeah, give me another one, another attempt.
Okay, thinking. Author doesn't understand why the book isn't popular in America.
Uh, well, for the most part, we talked about reasons like that, right?
I mean, couldn't we say that they're not conclusive, right? A lot of those reasons. Because
Uh,
he says, until then, Stoner remains of the great American novel that Americans don't understand.
okay. Yep, yep, yep. So that would be a definitive stance, right? Compared to like the author's trying to figure this out. We want to say
Okay.
what
Okay.
the yeah. Um so like just compare authors trying to figure out, what's the reason. Um but we've already given a bunch of reasons, and the author did say that he can't even really supply it with a real reason. But ultimately, what is true is that Europeans like it more, and Americans like it less because they don't understand it.
Mm,
So Euros like Stoner more than Americans because they don't understand. Well, meaning Americans don't understand it. So
okay.
see how that's a definitive, because in cars we're looking at arguments. We're not looking at summaries. We're not reading textbooks. Like everything it's like there's a few facts in cars, but those facts are just there to help support some argument. But it's still ultimately all arguments. And it's usually hard for pre-meds to like kind of, because we're used to like textbooks being completely right and being objective and being able to see things like kind of at a distance to have kind of more of an objective lens. But in cars, we want to look at, we're focused on the arguments, and an argument is going to be taking a stance of something, right?
Mm,
Like
okay.
another example would be, just because it's coming up, like, okay, the presidential election can have either Trump or Kamala Harris win. So let's take that statement, and now let's say President Trump is more likely to win because of blah, blah, blah. See how they're different? One is saying that it's objective, there's an election, there's two of them, one of them's going to win. There's no stance being taken. But if someone says this one person's going to win, right? It's no longer a fact, right? It's a claim, or, an assertion or an argument. Um, and it's a stance. So that could be kind of like an example. So let's look at, so now, okay, so yeah, why don't you screenshot like everything, like the highlights in the map? And so do you want to do the questions first, or do you want to compare the maps first?
Yeah, honestly, I want to compare the maps. I
All
think
right.
it's better when you compare the maps and the highlights. Well,
So
I don't think I take a picture of my highlights. So
wait, what's up?
I don't think I took a picture of my highlights.
Oh,
Screenshot my
yeah,
highlights.
no, that's fine. So like, yeah, let's have your map. Like we can put it on like the left side or something so we can see and compare. So let's see. Is this the one? Yeah, okay. Author thinks Stoner has a unique way of displaying sadness, feels pure and um similar real type of sadness. Okay. Um yeah, that's not bad. I mean, you know, you don't have to say author thinks, because that's what we're not, if the author doesn't think something, we're not going to really write it. Um
Good
so
point.
so yeah, Stoner has unique, and you don't have to say way of displaying sadness. Like with shorthand, you could just say Stoner has, whatever, unique sadness, and then pure, similar, real. That's good. Like I would have maybe said, like, unlike the operatic thing and unlike the socio thing. But now that I've read the passage, I know that that's just in that one paragraph and they don't get mentioned again, so it's not very important. So yeah, I think.
Mm.
Oh yeah, let me remove my highlights actually, so we can see this. So, so for the first paragraph here, I think what you did is fine. Um, you could just make it shorter, but it's ultimately fine. So, that's fine. Okay, then let's see. Paragraph 2, even though title isn't the best, the content, you can move it like a little bit to the left so we can see. Um, like,
Can I move this? Oh, what the heck?
oh no, just yeah, bring that to the front again and just move, like, make it skinnier, like, um,
Okay.
oh,
Good.
how does it,
It's too small.
is
It's
it
good?
a way for you to drag just the right side of it?
Yeah, I don't think that's possible for some reason.
Like over here?
Oh, here?
No, sorry. So go back to that previous location. Okay, see where I circled it? Or here, I'll circle again. Over here, just click that or hover your mouse over it. Yeah. And then move that to the left. Left?
Oh,
Oh, I thought it was gonna, but it
yeah, it's just
doesn't go.
yeah, as you were saying, yeah, I don't know why it doesn't do that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. What
Sorry about that.
so okay, let's see. Even though title isn't the best, the content of the book has made it extremely popular. Um, let's see.
Yeah, so that's the only thing I got for paragraph two.
So, I mean, I would just be careful about putting in your own kind of like um things. Like, for instance, isn't the best. I would be specific by saying, even though the title is like unexciting or not exciting, right? Um, and then when they say that it became popular, we don't necessarily know that it became popular because of the content of the book. We did say that the book makes the title, not the other way around, and that it became popular from nothing. Um,
Mm.
but I don't know if it became popular because of, the content.
They're two separate things.
Yeah, so like I'm just like
Okay.
always going to be very, very cautious about making assumptions.
Okay.
Okay. But still really good. And then let's see, paragraph 3. Typical books after recovery have slight bump or hump and then stagnate. Stoner was blah 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 and has many copies sold. Okay, good. Um,
That part was just a continuation of paragraph one. I don't know, for some reason I couldn't take that, but
yeah. So yeah, we don't need that though, right? Um,
yeah.
So, okay, not paragraph 4, not much American love, with exception of a couple, mostly Euro and Israeli, liking uh for stoner. All right, that's good. Paragraph 5, wants to understand why American novel, why it's an American novel but not really read by Americans, thinks maybe of how it focuses on accepting rather,
Oops, sorry. I
yep,
think
rather
that's yeah, sorry.
rather than being better, lack of optimism, quiet. Um, what's the Oh, I see what you mean by that. Yeah, so I mean, you don't have to do like I mean, this is fine. This is good. But yeah, you can just see like you could just even though I told you like don't worry about writing too much. Ultimately, it's a time thing. So if you write this fast, it's fine. But you can just see like, you can get rid of some of the grammatical stuff. But that's still good. Okay, paragraph 6. Sylvia, oh, that's the brown rig person. Okay. Thinks Stoner's character is English/Euro, does not relate to Americans. with sadness. Author still thinks stoners, what is that, parrot or prefer or part of
Yeah,
America?
it's part of America.
Part of America. Um, so I think, wait, okay, sorry. So paragraph 5 and 6 have something very important that I don't see in your map. What do you think?
It's the that Americans don't understand it.
So, because paragraph 4, everything else you wrote is fine. Because we have, okay, he wants to know why, and he can speculate. He can think that it's because of this and that. But ultimately, right, uh, it's this great American novel that Americans don't understand, right? And then paragraph 6, we have the Sylvia person saying it doesn't feel American, even though it is. But we did say, but Stoner is one of theirs, even if they cannot comprehend it. So we say that again there. And that's why we, when you have that repeated argument, like that's how you know you're at a main idea. So everything else is
See what
perfect
you're saying.
P5 and P6 except for the like the reason that, because again, like these reasons in paragraph 5 are speculation that the author himself says I can't supply you with the explanations, right? Something like needs explanation. I'm not sure I can supply it. And then we have certain speculation through here. And then we say, okay, until we can figure it out, ultimately the fact remains is that Stoner is this great American novel that Americans don't understand. So all of these stuff are talked about, but are speculation. But what is true, no matter what, is that Americans don't understand it. And then paragraph 6, we say that again. Then paragraph 7, author theorizes if lack of drinking could be issue. Um, so
I think I meant to. I don't know why I said issue.
oh,
Uh,
could be
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if issue is the right word there, to be honest. But also, I didn't really understand that paragraph, to be honest with you. So,
oh, well, in the sense of, you know, um, there's little drinking in Stoner, right? And then we have Americans, and we don't have to worry about the self-contained part, but it says Americans more often have to be alcoholics. So if there's little drinking in Stoner, Americans are like, "Yo, where's the where's the drinking?" That's what I would do if I
mhm,
was a character. So, but
see what you're
but
saying.
but you wrote issue, and I think you mean issue in terms of this is why it's not popular in America, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I meant to say. I
Yep. So that's fine. And then let's see, main idea.
think it's kind of
So
what you said,
that's
but
the
I see
thing.
what
Yeah.
you, yeah.
Like sure, right? Sure. He wants to like he does say that it's important to ask why, but he says that we can't really figure out why. There's several theories. That's true that there's the postulates reasoning and stuff. But that's still a very like kind of distant kind of thing. Because like okay, let me put it this way. Um, so of course everything we're looking for are arguments. But is it an argument to say that the author is trying to figure out reasons why this book is less popular in America? Like, that's a fact. Like, that is what the author's trying to do, right? So it's not something that can be denied. Um, but that's what makes it more like a summary. But if it's an argument, it would be like what we ended up writing, which is the reason, instead of authors trying to figure out the reason is that they don't understand it. And
Mm,
that isn't a fact. That is an argument. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think that part it just didn't.
Hmm.
Um, I think there was so much of that other stuff that I was so focused on it that I don't think it. Yeah, I don't think that really hit. I don't think that really hit me as part of the argument. So,
Yeah.
but it makes sense. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So overall, your map is great. Um, there's like the tiny things, but we don't really care about that. But the only thing that would really matter is just P5, P6 should say
They don't
Americans
understand.
don't understand it, and then your main idea or like an it has to be an argument. So if someone's trying to figure out reasons, not an argument, but if someone says this is the reason, that's an argument, right? So,
Okay.
yep,
Okay.
yeah. And this is common. This is like all my cars students, like we always have uh sessions where we go over a passage and then we look at their map and then the map that we write, and pretty much everyone does what you were doing, like uh more so writing the summary, but it's less so a summary, it's more so argument. And an argument means there's a
Mm,
stance, right?
yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'm missing here. I feel like I understand it for the somewhat of the degree, but
Mhm.
I think it's different. I see what you're saying. This is not just simply understanding. This is simply there's an argument to it, and we need to kind of see that. And I guess I didn't really see that part. That makes sense though.
Yep, yep, yep.
Okay.
All right. Do you want to do the questions?
Um,
Or if you want to
how
do,
much time do we have?
we have a lot of, I mean, well,
7:30. It's crazy.
yeah, I think you're until 8. I know, and we started early. I mean, started late. So I know it's a 2 hour session, so we could do the 2 hours, but if you have to like go early or whatever, we can.
No, no, I just want to see so we can kind of game plan for the last like 30, 40 minutes.
Yes, yeah.
Um, because the thing is like I want to see if we can at least get through this. I don't know if we're gonna get through the second passage,
Mhm.
but um
Yep.
I want to see your opinion on what might be going wrong here so I can try to fix it.
Yeah. Uh
That's really why I want to yeah, that's really what I want to see. Because if I'm averaging the same 60%, I feel like I'm doing something uh and probably making the same mistake again, which I don't see for some reason. So
sure. So do you want to go over these questions?
yeah, let's do it. Let's go through all of it then.
Okay. I'm gonna block this out and um there's no way to show this without solutions. Uh
Yeah, I don't think so.
okay. All right, that's fine. So let's try um these questions out then. Okay. Um so yeah, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so Sylvia's Brownrigg's discussion of Stoner includes the assumption that yeah, so the going back to the paragraph was paragraph 6 that it talked about Brownrigg. Yeah, she said as from our passage notes, it seems does not feel very American, feels like Euro passive,
Yeah.
but it is
Mhm.
but it is American even if Americans can't understand. I think that last part was something said by
Yeah,
uh,
so I
the
didn't
author, right?
yeah, so I didn't uh I didn't specifically include that. Like I wrote just the passive part, but I do remember in the passage itself they included the fundamentally decent thing, right?
Yeah.
So, yep, good.
And then includes the assumption. So every time it says assumption is like it's not explicitly said, but it's true from what the information that they said, right? That's kind of what it means, right?
Oh, sorry, you said that's not
That
explicitly.
it's yeah, that's not like exactly said, but we can assume like it's probably true from what they have given us.
Let's see. So, I mean, an assumption I think of as like perhaps like closer to like an argument, like a premise for an argument, perhaps. Um, and but in terms of explicitly stated, it could be explicitly stated. But if something is implied, then that is not explicitly stated. So, so assumptions can be explicitly stated, and it was for this question because, explicitly stated, fundamentally decent.
Okay. American novels. Yeah, I'm just looking at it. Do you have a reason to the source? Just go to the next question. I mean, I feel like this wasn't too much of a thing, but
Um, yeah, you could do that. So, yeah, tell me about A.
yeah. So American novels do not typically sell well in Europe. I mean, we don't really know that. This story is really just about Stoner specifically, and she doesn't really talk about that. So I don't know. She talks more about like the aspects.
Did I
So
talk
probably,
main idea questions and structure questions?
yeah, yeah. So I guess what this would be like more of a structure question, like components of the passage.
So structure means what?
Like just like structure meaning like parts of the passage, like a question specifically on a aspect of a passage,
So
right?
yeah, specifically on a paragraph.
Okay.
Sylvia Brownrigg, paragraph 6. Answer must be in paragraph 6.
Yeah.
A, American novels do not typically sell well in Europe. I mean, so two things. Either one, contradiction because they gave an American novel that I guess sold well. I don't know if that was explicitly stated though. But two, localization. This is talked about in a different paragraph um, than paragraph 7.
Yeah, I was like way earlier, right? Like three, right? Three or four, somewhere around there. Yeah, passivity is not a typical trait for European minimalists. Yeah, so I remember this. Um, I think I picked this out too because like in the passage it was talking about minimalists, like comparing it, like how the sadness isn't. So I think this sentence is this answer choice is just convoluting things around.
Well,
C, sorry.
so the same part, so like I actually wrote the passive part um here,
Mhm. It's part
but
of the Europeans.
yeah, but this is the same place that said fundamentally decent.
Yeah.
So so it's the same location. Um, but we said that the passive was the trait for Europeans.
Yeah.
So B we could eliminate for contradiction.
Oh, okay, okay. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. C, a small minority of Americans work in academia. I don't remember anything about academia here except like at the beginning with the premise of the story.
Hmm.
So I don't really know. Okay. B.
Yeah, so
Gonna move this to the side because I can't see it.
yeah.
Actually, I'll move you.
So since I'm sharing, since you're sharing the screen, you have the ability to move what I wrote. If you hit annotate, there's a selection thing in the bar, and it lets you select what I wrote, and you can just probably move that over to the left or so, or a little bit lower. Yeah, it'll be a tool. It'll be like probably
Select button.
yeah, yeah. So you could select. I guess you could move that, and then
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Just
you could.
I don't know why I don't. I don't know why I wouldn't move the rest though.
Yeah. So you can just move what you have selected like anywhere to the left, perhaps, like all the way. Just like drop it there. Yeah. And then you can drag through. Yeah. You can even select by holding it down and selecting all of them. Like if you put your mouse here where I put the dot and you hold down the left button and then, yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. Try that again.
Yeah. Just like,
I don't know why it's not moving though.
that's weird. All right.
Okay, I'm just gonna.
Do it that
Yeah, I'm
way.
just gonna, yeah.
Oh, effer.
Bro, what the heck? Okay, I think this should be good enough for now. What?
Yep.
Is there any way that you can move it? You can't move it?
No, I don't know why they don't let the person who writes it move the thing, but yeah, you can still
Whatever.
hit
I
P4.
can kind of see it.
You can move the P4 over here. Oh, like yeah, yep, yep.
Heck?
Yeah, don't worry about the circles.
There you go, finally.
And
No! Oh, there you go. Okay.
and then just the main idea. Yeah,
Okay. That was a lot of difficulties. All right.
yeah.
Which of the following novels would the author of the passage be most likely to describe as in line with the American character? Yes, I think as you said earlier, I think this seems like a structure question.
Okay.
Yeah, so here I remember in the passage it was like he was talking about reasons, and it seems like the American character is probably someone that has like persevered through hardships.
Yep.
So I felt like A was the only answer choice. I was between like A and I think C, but like A talked about more like persevering from it, so that made more sense.
Yeah. So we want someone who believes in changing their fate, right? So, let's see. B says having to deal with the repercussions. C says you die saving people. D says, you lost an election and then, you feel a disgrace. But A is the only
Mm,
one that means that you do something about it
yeah.
instead of accepting it. So,
Oh, gotta take off the annotate.
mhm.
Regarding real life sadness, the passage strongly implies that, yeah, so implies what you said earlier, right? It's not explicitly said. I was so quick to pick C just because of the fact that it said like less literary kind in the beginning of the passage.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked it. But then like when I read the answer choice and I saw it, it kind of made sense why it could be inevitable.
So,
Just because of the fact like they explain that really later on how he says how or based on like what we wrote, right? Actually do right?
so yeah.
No.
So here, life sadness, you can often see life sadness coming, knowing there is little you can do about it. What does
Yeah.
inevitable mean?
That you just can't it's you're gonna face it. Like there's no way you can stop it.
Yep. So there you go. But
Yeah.
the trap here, remember I talked to you about how the trap is like using exact words that are in the passage. So
Yeah.
I think that may because here it says less literary, right? Now
Yeah.
that could just mean that it's a type of sadness that is more like something in real life that you can't do anything about rather than literary in like because typically books like and stories and stuff are all about like you know this a hero that like overcame odds and like changed his destiny and stuff right like that, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's what they mean, like less literary. But we want to be careful. If it's less literary, it just means it's a type of sadness that is more like real life and less like what you see in books. But that doesn't mean that it's difficult to portray sad real life sadness in literature.
It's just not shown. Right? It's just not typically shown. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I guess I didn't catch that, but
When you say the typically shown part, what are you saying?
what's up?
When you say the typically shown part, what do you mean?
That says less literary kind. Like I typically, at least according to the author, it's not something that is like showcased a lot. Like that type of sadness, the real type of sadness.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. Um,
It's not like it's not the fact that it's difficult. It's just not
uh-huh.
put there. Like they don't really like think about or put it there. That's what I meant to say.
Got
So
it.
yeah, that distinction I don't think I got. But okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
So which of the following statements, if true, would most weaken the author's assessment regarding who Stoner is popular with? Yeah, before I did this, I tried to go down and I looked at the question and I kind of thought about it. I'm like, yeah, so the author's assessment was, yeah, so Europeans, it's more popular in Europeans than Americans. So I'm probably finding an answer choice that kind of like rejects that idea.
Mhm.
Um, so A definitely would probably support it, right? Was a European who emigrated to the United States before becoming a writer. So that probably I feel like that adds on to the popularity in Europe. Uh, C, while story takes place in America, some of the characters are European. I feel like that even adds on to it too. D, there are cultural similarities between European countries and America. I wasn't really sure how that relates to it, and because I was between B and D at that point, so I was like, most of the book copies purchased internationally were by Americans living out the U.S., so that kind of possibly would, yeah, I feel like that would maybe weaken it, right? Because he says, yeah, I feel like yeah, that just pick it, just made more sense.
And D is like kind of like an example of what you don't want to write in your map, right? Because it just says there's some cultural similarities, or maybe there are some cultural differences. Like that, just as an example of like what you don't want to put in your map. In your map, you would want to put these are the differences and stuff. But anyway, I'm just saying like D,
Mm,
yeah,
because it's a summary, it's not objectively stating something of a stance.
yeah. So
Okay.
that's just me. Like, I'm not saying about this D being an answer to this or whatever. I'm just saying
Mhm.
the sentence is like something that you don't want to put in your map. You want to say what those are. You want to be that more specific. Yeah. But all right, yeah. Good job
That's
here.
good.
It seems like you're getting a lot of these right. So yeah, did you just get like two wrong or something? Okay, got it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
we could still go over five. Unless
uh, one one view of literature is that it is a reflection of the hidden truths of the society it is written in. Does the information in the passage support the view? Yeah, I don't know. The fact that when I read the hidden truths of the society is written in, I don't know, it just didn't. The second I saw that, I was like, I have no idea what this has to do with the
all right,
passage.
let's think about it, right? So there's a view of literature in which it's a reflection of the hidden truths of the society that it's written in. Now, where was Stoner written in?
What do you mean that? Where was it like? What time period?
Sorry, wait. Did you say when? I meant where?
Yeah. Where what is it written?
Yeah, like what country?
Oh, America. Sorry.
So, if this view of literature is true, his book should reflect the society, the American society, right? But it
Gotcha. I see what you're saying.
but it doesn't, right? It doesn't reflect American society. So the information in this passage does not support this view.
Mm, okay. I see what you're saying.
So go through, yeah, start with A.
Yes, Americans are more pessimistic than they claim to be. I mean, I feel like from our what we just talked about, the fact that it just said yes, I think we can cross that out. I think also B, we can kind of cross that out too.
Yeah, so about these types of questions, I think it's always good to read that second part also
Mhm.
because because we don't like we don't know, right? Like because there could be something that says yes, but the Americans in this time period needed alcohol for those feelings to come out or something. So in general, I think that it's worth it to read that second part too. So even without the no or the yes. So for A, Americans are more pessimistic than they claim to be. They're saying, does information in the passage support this? Nothing in the passage says that they're more pessimistic than they claim to be, so that's out. And then B says readers in other countries read Stoner to learn more about Americans. That's not true. Uh, they're not doing it to learn more about Americans. They're doing it because they relate to it. And then we have C, novel only reflects the author's view of how American society works. Um, I don't think the author really writes about American society and how it works. I think he's just some depressed dude. Um, and then D is exactly it. Stoner does not clearly reflect what it is to be American. Um, so so yeah, so yeah, it's good to do what we did where when I blocked the choices for you to be like, okay, it's gonna be a no. It's good to do that, but I would just say, you know, just to be careful, just to and you probably did that because you were able to not choose C. So yeah, so you did everything right here pretty much.
Okay.
Uh
Yeah, which of the following underlying assumptions about the stoner is implied in the passage argument?
yeah, so now imply would mean, that it may not be explicit. Um, but yeah. So um so
Yes, I picked. What did I pick? Yeah, the novel was written to cater to an American audience. Yeah, looking back, I don't know why I picked this because I mean, like when I reason through it, it's kind of like, I mean, we don't know what the novel was like, the exact reason. We just know that it was just about a story of this and how he displayed sadness.
what does it mean
Um,
cater to?
I can't think of it to relate to be part of or to like
Yeah, like you write it to it, for you're writing it for a certain audience.
yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
yeah, and like this throughout the passage we're saying Americans don't understand it. So it definitely isn't going to cater to them because if it catered to them, it would want them to read it, and by doing that, you want them to like be able to like whatever relate to it and all that stuff. So, yep. So that's out, and then B, American values have not.
American,
Yeah, go on.
yeah, so yeah, American values have not changed since it was written. We don't see the author talking about like a time period, how it was before and how it was after. So that's why I was kind of, I feel like that's probably why that's not it.
Yeah, I think there's
Uh,
some reasoning that says like only recently it's starting to become popular, and maybe that's because American values changed. Um, but we don't know that for sure. Oh, and B is saying like the opposite, that it's not been changed. Um, but I would say that it could have changed just because it's more popular now. But but yeah, it's still not very, very strong. Um,
the book was mostly celebrated by European critics.
that's a
Uh,
very tempting one. And especially when I was saying like we don't when I was trying to differentiate between is it that it's more copies are sold in Europe, or does it mean that more people like reviews are better in Europe? Um, and I wasn't really able to, I guess, definitively say that. So, so D, I would say is very C and D are very tricky here. Um, but we didn't imply ever that European critics or that it got better reviews in Europe. All we know is that it was just more Europeans could relate to it more, and that I guess connects it to its popularity, which we know it's more popular in Europe than in America. And why isn't it popular in America? It's not understood in America. Therefore, if it's popular in Europe, they understand it. So, so I think this could have been tricky between C and D, but C is the closest thing to our main idea, the understanding.
Okay.
And I think this is the one that you got wrong because you didn't include the understanding part in the map.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but
Clearly see that.
you just got what, two wrong, and your map was pretty much great except for just the not understanding part. Um now, but now in terms of timing, and again, we did it slowly, so I guess like when I first saw one the passage, I was thinking like, okay, I'm going to do it fast to show that you can kind of do it still fast. Um, let's see. Well, let's do you have like another passage like this? I'm going to see if I can do it fast, just show you that it's possible to do it fast.
Yeah, no, this next one was really hard. I think I did really good. Let me see. I actually want to see how many I got wrong. So there's 6 questions. So one, two, three. Yeah, I did pretty bad. 50%. I think there was one more that I did even worse on. But I mean, I think that I don't know, I feel like it's kind of the same things going on. So yeah, do you want to do this or do you want me to find the worst one?
Oh, so let's see. Uh, Okay, I'm just gonna go for it. So, if one looks at pictures of food in magazines, one cannot help to notice how common smooth coatings on food are. So, argument is that people don't realize how common smooth coating on food is, whatever that is. There's an obvious endeavor. Let me get my annotate here.
You want me to cancel it?
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, it says cannot help to notice, but okay. It's common to have smooth coating on food. There's an obvious endeavor to glaze surfaces to round them off, to bury the food under the even surface of sauces, creams, icing, and jellies. This, of course, comes from the very finality of the coating, which belongs in a visual category. So, um, so foods tend to have this smooth coating, and we have certain examples, and you know, ultimately it gives it a visual effect. So that could be a reason why. Cooking, according to Elle magazine, is meant for the eye alone, since sight is a genteel sense. Um, Okay. So it's just cooler or whatever. From there, in this persistence of glazing, a need for gentility, um, and that's like talking about, it's not like the word gentle, it's like, like when like a word to mean like aristocratic and stuff. That was
Right. I was stuck on that word. I was like, what this means.
like
Interesting.
the genteel, the landed gentry. Um, Elle is a highly valuable journal from the point of view of legend, at least, since its role is to present its vast public, which market research tells us um, is working class. Oh, okay. The very dream of, wait, oh, hold on. Oh, okay. Elle is trying to get working class people to um, is trying to present the dream of wealth to the working class people. Okay. A country dish is admitted only as an exception. And so for the most part, they're concerned with uh the aesthetic appeal of so here, maybe I'll write it. So let's see. Smooth coating on food is good aesthetics and like I don't know, high brow L mag um offers working class glimpse of luxury, let's say. Um rarely is, I guess, low class food um shown. But contrast word, above all, coatings prepare and support one of the major developments in cookery, ornamentation. So right now we're talking again about the coating, and more important than this other stuff is this thing called ornamentation, which is a major development in cookery. So I guess something relatively new. Glazing, I guess, is an example. In L serves as a background for unbridled beautification, chiseled mushrooms, punctuation of cherries, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to write P2, maybe like arrow above coatings equal ornamentation, i.e. glazing, etc. Ornamentation proceeds in two contradictory ways. Whenever they give you a numerical number, like two ways, you want to know what's the first way, what's the second way. So ornamentation, two contradictory ways in which food is either made more artificial or made to seem like some other part of nature. So that's important. So two contradictory ways, more artificial or more part of nature. Okay, on the one hand, what is pictured flees from nature thanks to a kind of frenzied artifice. Some example of the artificial part because it flees from nature. Then on the other hand, some issues try to reconstitute food through an incongruous artifice. Some example here, blah, blah, blah. It is in fact the same pattern one finds in elaboration of cheap trinkets, ashtrays in the form of a saddle. Um, okay. This is okay, let's see. Um, ornamentation, one, let's see, more artificial, two, more natural, and should I put the examples? Um, I'm just going to say this ornamentation could be more artificial or more natural, kind of like trinkets. All right, cooking in L is in a particular way an idea of cooking, but here inventiveness confined to a fairyland reality must be applied only to garnishes. Okay, so let's see. Cooking in L, idea of cooking, but inventiveness, which is just for garnishing, confined to a fair, must be applied only to garnishing. Um, for the tendency of the magazine stops it from touching on the real problems concerning food. Real problem is not to have an idea of sticking cherries onto a partridge. It is to have the partridge, that is to say, to pay for it. Okay. That is what is depicted in cooking in magazines is only accessible to the wealthy. Okay, let's see, paragraph 4. Um, Cooking in L is an idea, not about the reality of paying for the food. Inventiveness can be applied to garnishes, but ultimately this is all just accessible to the wealthy. This ornamental cookery is indeed supported by wholly mythical economics. Um, the readers of the magazine could not eat the food. Oh, interesting. Could not eat the food. Okay. That the magazine shows them because it's beyond their capacity to buy it. So it's like a dreamlike kind of cookery, and it never shows the dishes as proved by the photographs that never show the dishes except from a high angle as objects at once near and inaccessible, whose consumption can be accomplished simply by looking. Okay, got it. So paragraph 5. Um, let's see. Food shown in L, beyond ability to buy it, dreamlike angle, not meant to be real or eaten, but looked at. Um, that thing over here. And then it is, in the fullest meaning of the word, a cuisine of advertisement. Totally magical, especially when one remembers that this magazine is widely read in low income groups. So that's really okay. The latter, in fact, explains the former. Um, it is because L is addressed to a genuinely working class public that it is very careful not to take for granted that cooking must be economical. It shows the working class that the food that only the wealthy could consume so they can dream of being wealthy as well. Okay, paragraph 6. Um, L equals cuisine advertisement because audience is low income and um, L wants to show them what they could eat if they were wealthy to encourage that or to have them dream of becoming wealthy. Um, now for for the um, main idea here, we can maybe say, um, let's see. Fancy food depicted in L is beyond audience, which is a working class to afford, so they must eat it by looking at it and I guess dreaming of being rich, perhaps.
Yeah,
So, um,
that's 10 minutes. I
that-
was like, wow,
yeah, so
amazing.
let's see if this is um
Can I show you my map? Can
what
I to see
category
compare?
what category was this in? It was it a Um,
Uh, I just put new and 10, so I don't really know what category this is. But I mean, I feel like we can check if we look on the bottom.
yeah, so why don't you take a screenshot so we have that in case something.
Mm, Please work this time.
There you go.
Oh my God. Okay, popular culture.
Mm-hmm.
Let me shift it back.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it took all the other stuff too, but oops.
Um, yep. So now we can, yeah, show your map or whatever.
Give me one moment. So,
Mm-hmm.
sorry about that. Yeah.
Elle magazine, all the cooking has a smooth coating and it's only meant for the eye. That's good. Coating help develop ornamentation. It's fine. Um, ornamentation made artificial, part of nature. Try to make it part of nature, but doesn't work, so they use incongruous artifice. That's fine. Cooking by L is not just an it's just an idea. A way it can be done.
Not sure
Uh,
what I meant to say by that, but
okay. It's not something accessible unless you're rich. Good. And then uh magazine gives readers a fantasy of the food, but will never buy. It gives a sense of eating, but you're not. Um, maybe I would just add like the only way that you can consume it is by looking at it, and that's
okay.
why, yeah. And then P6, uh, cooking gives magical sense of what wealth can do to make working class dream of being wealthy. That's good. And then L showcases food in a way to create fantasy for non-wealthy uh readers. So now that's good, but what do you think? Um, what part of it do I don't like?
Still feels like a summary. Showcases. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Kind of feels like a
No, no,
summary. I'm not really.
it's good, but there's
Oh,
just 3 words. So
3 words.
you
I
know,
guess it's not wealth. It's not wealthy. It's not for. It's only for the wealthy.
oh no, just where you wrote in a way, like L
Oh, food in a way.
in a way. What's that way, right? That's but everything else is great. It's fine. Because yeah, it is
I,
to
I
yeah.
I guess I meant to say like more like a fantasy like in a way meaning like food in a fantasy sense to its non-wealthy readers.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So that could be like, I mean, I wrote like fancy food depicted, but you could say like, uh, but I said that to mean that you can eat it by looking at it, and that's why we talked a lot about how it's there to look nice because you're never gonna actually get to eat it. Um, so yeah, that was the only thing I would say. Like, yeah, it's true that they're trying to make a fantasy for non-wealthy readers. Um, and yeah, it's only the rich people who could read it. But just yeah, in a way, that's the only thing I would change. But yeah, your map is fine. But yeah, I guess like the point of this was to show you that it shouldn't. doesn't
Won't
have to
take you
take.
that long.
Yeah.
Okay. So, wait, is it possible? How much time do we have left? I mean, I don't mind staying a little longer. I kind of want to see if we can like you can go through these questions and then like really kind of give me an entire glimpse of like what you think might be going on, what I need to possibly change. So far I'm kind of getting like really getting into my brain. It's like it's not more so summarizing, it's more so following the argument. And I don't think that's what I'm kind of trying to do.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, we can do some of these questions. Um, yep.
Okay. Uh, Honestly, I'm just gonna have the screen here. There we go. Yeah, so the high angle from which food is photographed, paragraph 5 is cited in the passage as evidence for the claim that, yeah, so remember from paragraph 5, what we wrote, magazine helps give a reader's fantasy of this, gives a sense of eating. So essentially the reason I think the claim earlier in the passage was made, and that's in that paragraph was just saying how like food wasn't really it's to give a sense of eating, but they really aren't, right? To make them feel like it. So I feel like A just went along with that, so that didn't seem too bad.
Oh, you know what? Okay, now I actually see some more differences in the map. So
Okay.
that are important here, right? Because 'cause
Mhm.
you wrote magazine gives readers a fantasy of this food, but will never buy. It gives a sense of eating, but isn't or aren't. And then I wrote, well, I guess you did say will never buy, but I wrote food shown in L beyond ability to buy it, dreamlike angle, not meant to be real or eaten, but looked at, right? So, so for you, right, where you wrote it gives a sense of eating but isn't. You see how that is like, okay, it's not eating, but what is it though? Right? But in what I wrote, I said what it is, which is that it's meant to be looked at,
Mm.
right?
It's just it's just what it is. I see what you're saying. It's not okay because I'm giving a little bit of I'm not being too would you say yeah, I'm not being too objective. Do you feel like I'm right in saying that
Oh
with
no,
what I'm trying to say?
you're getting too objective because you're saying things that are less like decisive. Like what
Mm.
it's like, yeah. Because like it gives a sense of eating it, but how, right? Like how does it, do that? And it's because it's meant to be looked at, right? And we talked a lot about that in terms of previous paragraphs where we talked about, how important it is for the aesthetics of it, right? Um,
Yeah.
Paragraph, with the glazing and the ornamentation and all that stuff is making it look nice. And then, you know, so I mean, we could even look at paragraph 5 itself. Yeah, you could probably even just leave that there. Yeah. Um, let's see, one, two, three, four, five. Okay, ornamental. Readers cannot eat it beyond the capacity to buy it. And then theme like cookery photographs never shows the dishes except from a high angle, as objects once near and inaccessible, whose consumption can be that part. Consumption can be perfectly well be accomplished simply by looking, right? So you wrote can be accessible or something like in
It can be sense, but they aren't. That's what I wrote.
yeah,
In a sense, it can give a sense of eating, but they aren't.
yeah. And here we see that like how? So it gives you a sense of looking at it, and that's how you can eat it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So, uh, yeah.
Suppose that an issue of L was devoted to simple, cheap meals. Why, according to the passage, would this be surprising?
All right.
Suppose
So,
that an issue of L was simple, yeah, simple, cheap meals. Why would this be surprising? Okay.
yep. So, bring up
That's what.
the map that. Oh, it's already there. Sorry. So, in the map for paragraph one. Oh, I guess this is another thing then. All right, show you. Let's show your map again. Okay, you wrote for paragraph one. Uh, oh wait,
The
this.
heck? This is the wrong one.
Yeah, this one. Go up to paragraph one. Uh, okay, so paragraph one, you wrote all the cooking smooth coating meant for the eye. It's very valuable. I wrote also good for aesthetics, but um, I did have how it offers a working class a glimpse of luxury, which you didn't have. But I also wrote rarely is low class food shown, right?
Yeah, I remember the example. It was the example of the family dish.
Yep, the country dish or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so so you have down that it's meant for the eye and that it's valuable, but you didn't write down how it's for the rich people and not for the working class, right? In paragraph one. And you didn't write uh the thing about low class food. So,
Mm,
and for this question, they're saying, suppose that an issue was fully devoted, right? Um, so I wrote rarely is low class food shown, and in the first paragraph at the end, they said only one of the dishes would be low class, right? So
yeah.
most they're gonna do one dish that's low class, but this is saying fully devoted to the simple cheap meals, right?
Mm,
Why would this be surprising? Well, they the magazine, although it's they're trying to uh offer working class people a glimpse of that luxury, uh we are also saying that this is that we're not gonna show poor poor people food, for lack of a better word. If
yeah.
you're poor, then get rich so you can buy some of this
Hmm.
rich food. So it's surprising, would be surprising for that reason. So okay, such meals are not what the wealthy eat. There's no demand for meals that are easy to make. That one's totally out, right?
Yeah.
Those foods are not associated with the rich. Um, the meals would not be um appealing to look at. Um, so
I picked D.
Oh, so I mean, a simple cheap meal, does that mean that it doesn't look nice?
Um, I think for me, what I kind of figured out why I did this, I guess I kind of lost myself in all that other things about make the ornamentation and making it look nice and all of that stuff.
Okay.
And it just that's why I was more focused like on the visual aspect to it.
Uh-huh.
And I picked D. That's the reason why I picked D. Because I felt like L was like I didn't realize that it was more catered towards like working class to make them feel like they were wealthy. But I think I was just so focused on the visual aspect. That's why. And I felt like simple, cheap meals aren't maybe visually, probably might not be visually looking nice to look at. That's why I reasoned with that. That's why I picked D. But
Got it. So yeah, that's an assumption that you want to be careful about. Um, because we can only go as far as what the passage gives us. Um, and what the passage gives us is that and I think this is mostly like, in paragraph one, but
yeah,
it's the type of it. So okay, now let's say for instance between A and C, because they kind of seem pretty similar, right? A says such meals are not what the wealthy eat, and C says those foods are not associated with the rich. Um, I'm actually surprised like such a small amount chose A. I imagine more people to choose A, but why do you think it should be C other than rather than A?
Because the reason with all of this, right, and we talked about it, I think the main idea helps us with this is it's to make it's the reason why it's so uh that they want to display food that makes that makes the working class feel like they want to strive to be wealthy, want to buy something good.
Mhm.
So if it's simple and cheap, specifically, I think like the word that it's I wish I highlighted cheap there. Um, that kind of gives it away because it's like that kind of goes against everything in the passage kind of talked about how they wanted you to it was more like it was like it was really based on wealth. It made you want to feel like it was inaccessible, all that goody goody stuff.
So for A, right? So like let's say that just, for argument's sake, that in reality, wealthy people actually eat simple, cheap meals, right?
Mm,
Now, would that like change anything here? It wouldn't, right? Because the magazine is still there for the working class. And you want to put in, it says associated with the rich, right? So
yeah,
it could be true that, or it doesn't have to be true that these are foods that the rich people eat. It's just that these are foods that are associated with the rich, and that fulfills, Elle Magazine's objective of making poor people, dream of being rich. So, so C would fit here. Um, but when you saw the simple cheap meal part, I mean, when I saw that, I went to paragraph one because that's really
mm,
that, right? If you lower this thing on the left a bit, you could see that a country dish is admitted only as an exception, right? So that's the only place in the passage that can talk about, an example of, you know, uh, it's not the same words of simple cheap, but you know, we kind of know that. So that's why I wrote, rarely is low class food shown. So So yeah, I guess like once we see the questions, then like the differences between our maps kind of like
yeah,
themselves more. Um, so
okay,
yeah, for this one, for you for the map for paragraph one, it would be adding that uh the
low
working
class.
part and then yeah, them not showing um like poor people food or whatever.
Okay,
Hmm.
I was so annoyed about this. I was so annoyed about this question. Yeah, so it's like basically saying which of the following is most like the fruit in L as seen by the readers. I was kind of quick to pick A because it felt like, oh, like the wealthy people, they wanted everything
Yeah, but secluded,
separate.
if it's secluded and private,
Yeah,
like
it's not something that the working class can see. So I
yeah.
was like,
So it
damn.
needs to be something that a working class person can see that will help them believe, hey, I can become rich too.
Mm,
So if it's a secluded private estate, they don't get to see that. So that's not going to make them be like, I want this rich people stuff. Um, an exclusive nightclub, um,
same thing.
that's exclusive. So it's not like, yes, we did say that the food in L is not accessible to the working class, but the point of it, right, is to make them want to be uh rich by showing them stuff that can be associated with being rich. So in an exclusive nightclub, they're just going to be like, yeah, you can't get in. So that won't work.
Yeah.
And an investment portfolio, I think that's just someone who's just like, all right, rich people like portfolios, blah, blah, blah. But a luxury automobile show, okay? Now, this isn't like a luxury automobile like dealership where you actually go to buy it. It's a show. And who's welcome to see the show? Everyone, right?
Yep.
But not everyone can buy it, right?
Hmm.
So this is that's why it's going to be B. Um,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, so this one it seems like was more of an issue. This passage. So okay. Given information in the first paragraph, which of the following statements could be inferred? So an inference is when you have like two facts and you can make like you can make a fact based on those two facts. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Educated guess.
so uh so it's more of a logical thing. So if it's like Psy is studying for the MCAT, uh I can make the inference that you will be taking the MCAT.
Mm.
Why
Yeah.
say if you're not going to take it? So, um, so it's different from like implied and stuff or assumptions because those uh don't have to be facts, but an inference
Mm.
is a fact. So something you know from knowing other facts. So okay,
Understand.
first paragraph, and then what can be inferred. So L set the tone for the cooking magazine industry. Now, I could see why you would say that because you wrote the magazine was very valuable,
Hmm.
right? Um, but if we look at the passage, it says, yes, it's highly valuable, but why? It says, since its role is to present to the vast public, which is mostly working class, to show them a dream of wealth. So, yes, the magazine's very valuable, but you want to say why is it more valuable? Like, why is it valuable? Right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So now so A still seems decent. I mean, I say decent because I don't know if other cooking magazines are doing what L is doing, right?
Yeah.
I know that it's valuable, right? But and that's because a lot of people read it and most people are working class. But yeah, I don't know if it's influential or you know affected or had an influence on the industry of cooking magazines. So I'm iffy on. B, how food looks affects how it tastes. Well, I don't think that's an inference that we can really make here because we are just taught in the first paragraph, we're just talking about how food looks good, can look good, but and this is food that you're likely not going to eat or taste, but
Mm.
yeah, we never say we can't make an inference to say that how food looks affects how it tastes, right?
Yeah, I also picked this too because in the beginning, I remember it's also saying how like it's only meant for the eye alone.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's I also figured that could be another reason to like take that out as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Um, Good. Okay. And then those who live in a city do not cook all that often. Um, I wonder if oh, that's this thing. Country dish, jaded city dwellers. So maybe they think that you can make an inference that says that people in a city, you know, don't get to make the country dish, so they don't really cook that much. But I mean, that's a stretch. Um, and it's certainly not an inference, but rural areas do not seem wealthy. We can make that inference because we said a country dish is an exception, right?
Hmm.
So country dish equates to poor, right? And then jaded city dwellers is the other type of people. Um, and you know, that we can associate with being, you know, wealthier. So you can make the inference that the country, if a food called the country dish is used as an example, yeah, is used as an example um of poor food, then yeah, we can make the inference that the country is full of like poor people. So
Okay.
yeah, so this one was clearly tough because this is a not just between two. I mean, B also it's like almost evenly split. So yeah, so like I can see how A is because of the valuable part, but I would say just to write down what makes it valuable and be more specific.
Okay.
Mhm.
The passage describes an irony of cooking magazines, namely that, yeah, here I think I was just between C or D. They try to represent food that seems hard to make as if it were everyday food. I feel like there was no indication of talking about everyday food.
The
Um,
irony of cooking. I think that's the thing where it's like it's ironic because it's about cooking, but you're meant to not eat it. You're meant to just look at it,
mhm.
perhaps. But let's see. Um, their subject is food, but they don't discuss food's nutritional value. Nope. Their readership is likely to dislike the meals that they depict. Uh, they try to present food that seems hard to make as if it was everyday food. I mean, I can see people choosing that. They provide recipes that their audience is unable to rep. Oh, yeah. And that's perfectly ironic because it's like, this is how you cook, but you can't afford it, so you can't cook it. So,
Mm. Suppose it's discovered that the editorial staff of Elle is almost entirely comprised of individuals from wealthy backgrounds. Weird how I got this right. Does this discovery support the author's argument? Oh yeah, after all we've talked about. Um, yeah, I feel like it would because it kind of furthers the narrative of creating things to appeal to working class to make them want to be more rich, be like the wealthy background, right? So,
mhm. Yeah, and that it's the staff that we're talking about, right? Because like the audience, you know, we know is like working class for the most part, but the editorial staff, the people who actually writes the articles about this rich people food, how do they know that? How do they cook with that? They're probably rich. So
okay.
so yeah, okay. So now we see
What do you
that
think?
yeah. So now we see that you want to be more specific. You want to take a stance. You don't want to say something very vague and you know and we saw a couple of examples of that, like highly valuable, but why, right? And so yeah, so you can look at the map that you have and the one that we have, and look into what's different there, and like some of those details, um, but also you saw that it shouldn't have to take too long, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think yeah, so I think so. Okay, what do you think when you write it down? Like, what do you think about like what do you think like if it takes that long? Like, what do you think? Like, how is it? Like, tell me, like, I guess how you're doing it. Like, you know?
To be honest, I don't think I've had it in my mind to think about searching for the argument. I guess I'm just trying to understand completely. I feel like I'm trying too hard to completely understand every single aspect of the paragraph. That's what
I
I've been kind of noticing. And then I get kind of like, holy Lord, what do I pick out? What do I do?
got it.
That's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think because like even my highlights, like I feel like some of it's okay, but
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of it is like I'm like I'm highlighting something from every sentence, you know? That kind of I feel like that kind
Yeah.
of tells me that yeah, I feel like I'm looking too much into
Mhm.
I'm just summarizing. I think I literally took what you meant.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so now we know, so like now you see that it's possible and you see the things that you can improve on. And you also see the things that you did fine on. So now I guess like as you continue to do this, try and like, look at the highlights and the maps that we wrote and stuff. And try to see like how, I mean, it's gonna take practice to be able to quickly kind of like see a paragraph, and to pull out the important stuff. I think that's the main issue, that it might take a while
Yeah.
to see like, okay, is this important? Is this important, right? And um I think there's something else that was like, I think it was probably in the previous paragraph passage, but it was something that I didn't think was important. So I didn't put it in the map, and then I went to the next paragraph, and then they mentioned it, and I was like, okay, so that is important. And I went back and I added it.
Yeah, the
Um,
exhumed part, right? The exhumed. Yeah, I remember.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, so I think that if you just, so I think you are kind of maybe like worrying about making sure you get everything that's important, but you don't have to worry about that as much. Do what you can, write what you can, and later on in the passage, if something comes up, like again, then maybe you can go back and like just edit and kind of add it like I did for that thing. Because when I saw the rediscovered part, I was like, oh, okay, the exhumed thing, right? So
Hmm.
all in all, I think, you see um from the highlights that you screenshotted, you could see like how to highlight and how that functions pretty much exactly as the map. Um, what we wrote in the map was specific and about arguments, nothing like, you're not like a neutral observer or anything. Um,
Yeah.
we are technically, we didn't write this, we don't really care about these opinions, but we want to get into the head of the person who wrote this stuff. So we want to have like a definitive stance, and yeah, I would say to try it out that way. Try writing it out um without worrying about missing things. It's okay to miss things because either it doesn't matter, in a lot of cases it doesn't matter. But in the cases that it does matter is typically when it's repeated. So like perfect example is also the previous passage. Um, in one paragraph we saw that Americans didn't understand it. And then in the next paragraph we also said Americans don't understand it. So it's fine for you to maybe miss it that first time in order to, not take forever to do it, right? But when you see it mentioned again, that should be an indication, hey, this is important, so maybe I should add this, because that's how we do our main idea, right? Things that are repeated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I would say
Yeah. I think I got
that
there
you
was
can
like one
go,
question too, the last one that we got wrong because I didn't have the main idea.
yeah, yeah. So I would say for, I guess, like maybe three main takeaways. So one, um, don't worry too much about missing things, and try to just, when in doubt, just move on. And if it's really important, it'll probably be said again. Um, and same thing with sentences that may not be like make sense right away. Um, you can kind of just keep going and then see if it makes sense. So that should help with the time. Um, be more specific and write out more so arguments. So like, instead of writing the author is trying to figure out why this American novel is more popular in Europe. Write down what those reasons are.
Okay.
I think that'll help. So,
Okay, so setting the goal forward, because what do you think I should do and maintain like with passage? Should I still stick with two, or should I do like try to amp it up a little bit more and keep doing more? Or
well, if it's gonna
is
take you less time to do the passages now, you can probably do more passages, but I mean, you don't have to. But let's, I guess, prioritize taking less time. Um, so, because like, yeah, I say like, don't worry about doing it under time, like without a time constraint. But I would say the 40 minutes is definitely on the excessive side. So maybe
okay?
like 15 minutes max. Aim for
Yeah,
that.
that sounds good. Okay.
Awesome. So,
Okay, just trying to think if there's anything else.
mhm.
Uh, okay. Um, yeah, I guess I'll try to get some more passages done. Um, try to finish up the section banks as well. And do you think there's any trends with the questions I'm getting wrong, or do you think it's really just a mapping issue? Comes
um,
down to mapping issue.
trying to think of, yeah, I'm not sure yet. But I kind of forgot some of these questions so like that we've done so far. So, um, but yeah, I don't really think so. Maybe like, yeah, I don't really think so. Meaning that I don't really notice a pattern at the moment. Uh,
Okay.
with the questions. So, uh, but yeah, so that's what you can focus on. And should I put you in for next time?
Honestly, yeah. I'm good with next Friday.
Let's see.
What do you think I should try to like? Do you have any preference possibly on my what I should be prioritizing for the next week until Friday?
Um,
What do you think?
when you say until
Because
Friday,
like next Friday, like I'm just thinking like what should I? Give me a
uh,
second.
before your next exam, you're saying?
No, before my next session, like with you, like next week.
Oh yeah,
Um,
okay, yeah, yeah,
what do you think I should do?
yeah, cars. Like I mean, you're gonna be doing cars anyway, so like for the sciences, if there's like questions and stuff, we can go over like that. But I think a good thing to do like between now and then is like yeah, car stuff, and then you can kind of like shape it the way from that we did today, and then we can if you're still getting like things wrong and stuff or not understanding it, we can do what kind of like what we did today, where we write a map and then we compare the maps, and with
Okay.
those you get to start to write that kind of thing. So,
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely have your thing whenever I finish. I'm gonna try to look at your thing. Oh, one moment. I have like one last question. Um, and also I'll just pay you for the 3 hours.
okay.
Um, yeah, how much is that? Like 225, right?
Um, yeah.
Okay, actually, one second. I'll send it to you in a second when after this question. So, yeah, I'm thinking for psych. Oh God, like I really want. I feel like I can definitely get higher. Like I mean, I got a score like 127, but I feel like I can definitely get higher. Um, yeah. Do you have any like what should I do? Like last time I did the Pankow deck. I'm not. It's like one of the Reddit whatever decks. And I did all of the U World questions,
Yeah.
and I also did the AMC section bank. So like, what should I do? Try to do differently. Books should I look like? What textbook or something maybe I should read? Like I don't know. Like I
Yeah.
really want to. I really feel like I could do better in it.
Yeah. Sorry, psych is like the most content dependent thing, and that works in people's favor because it makes it easier to get like a relatively high score. Like if you look at the percentiles, like psych is like the highest. Um, but because of that reason, when they make the test, they're gonna have to like compensate for it by making it harder. Now, again, since it's so much like content based, it's like because a lot of people finish the section early, but that doesn't even help because it's not like a lot of the questions, like, it's either you know it or you don't. So it's not like, having that extra time really helps. So you're telling me that you've done all this psych material and stuff. So I would say look at the types of psych questions you're getting wrong. Are they questions you got wrong because you didn't understand, like if you didn't know a term or something like that? And also like even let's say you get like questions right. If there's in the choices any terms that you don't know, use that as an opportunity to learn those terms.
Okay.
So yeah, so basically for psych soc, you're just going to be learning as much terms as humanly possible. And every time you do a psych passage or psych questions, anything you see, like a term that you don't know, even if you got the question right, if it's a term you don't know, add that to your, knowledge. And we'll have more information once you have more kind of specific questions that you can show me in psych. Because aside from the terms, it could be like they can go heavy with experimental design and they can say like, cohort study, longitudinal study. And then a lot of times there could be um concepts that are like subsets of things, like actor observer bias can also have an effect with the fundamental attribution error and all that stuff. So it could certain terms can be conflated, so that can be tough. Um and
Okay.
what else? Um yeah, like pretty much.
Do you have any?
And like the developmental timelines, knowing like the specific
Mhm,
years for that, that can be kind of annoying.
mhm.
3, 4 different ones, and it's like 2 to 7, and then some age thing for other things. So yeah, I would say ultimately, I mean, well, let's say like psych soc is just the most content dependent section, so you want to know the terms as much as possible. Um, and you're telling me that you did mostly all of this stuff, so you should know most of the terms, but once you bring me like actual questions, or once you look at the questions that you get wrong, you can then kind of see, all right, is this wrong because I didn't know the term, or is it wrong for some other reason? And then we can kind of go from there.
Okay. I mean, like I'm asking like what resources maybe I can focus on because like I really don't want to go back look at my full lengths for the AMC because like I want to not look at it in case we do, and in case I do have to, in case we do decide on retaking it.
Mhm.
So like I want to go some time without even looking at it.
Yeah, so like in terms of the material, I think you've done most of it, like because you said you did all the world psych soc, right?
Yeah,
And then you did the Pankow deck.
there's like last like 500 words maybe, but I did like a good 70-80% of it.
Yeah, and then um section bank.
Yeah. So I wonder maybe it could be like this is my theory. Maybe I'm like maybe I know it, but I really don't really know it. I feel like maybe that could be it too. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. So like,
Okay.
what I was trying to say is like we once you have some like examples of psych questions that you're having trouble with, I'll then be able to
Okay.
determine, is this a content thing? Is it like experimental design? Is it like terms that are similar that have subtle differences and stuff? And then in terms of the material, um, you've done that section bank before, right?
Yes, the site social. Yes.
So, I mean, there could be this. So there's a section bank two, and then there's Jack Weston.
Okay, I'll do the check questions. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, because like it's hard. You get like it's hard for
No,
people.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
do you think on Friday maybe that's a better thing to prioritize on? Trying to like go through the content diagnostics so you can also see if it's a content issue?
Yeah, we can do that with some of that stuff, but I think for the most part, like for the content diagnostic, like you can see yourself, like what the because that's there for the content, like to see if what content you know, what content you don't know. So the content that you don't know, then you like learn about that content. But I would say if you did like yeah, like if you do like some Jack Weston passages in Psych Soc, and then find ones that you find troubling, then when we meet we can go over like one or two of those passages, um and then we can kind of focus on cars again or something like that. It's up to you, but I would say that can help. So yeah, you can do Jack Weston Psych Social passages, and we can kind of go over some when we meet next.
Okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I need the money right now. Two again. Sorry, asking 225, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let me know when you get it.
Yeah, I forgot. Is it through? Oh, yep, I got it.
Venmo.
Mhm. Awesome. Okay, so I will see you on. Wait, did I even put you in?
Yeah, I don't think we decided on a number at the time.
Did you say
What time are you available on Friday?
you want to do Thursday the 7th at 4?
No, I can't. I can't do Thursday. Friday doesn't work.
Yeah. Do you want to do Friday?
Friday 8th.
What's up?
Friday the 8th.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What time? What time are you available?
You want to do 2 p.m. Eastern?
Is there any other a little later time?
Let's see. Because you want like a 2-hour session, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Maybe 3:30?
3:30. 3:30. 3:30. Yep. 3:30 works. 3:30 works.
Okay. Just because I have someone at 6.
Yeah, that's fine.
So okay. Um yeah. Friday the 8th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern.
Awesome. See you then. Thanks so much.
Awesome. All right, good luck, and I will see you next week, okay?
All right, man. Take it easy.